All right. It says recording up in the corner. Yay. Okay, welcome to the October session of acquisitions SIG. And I just had a couple of things that I thought, to give it some structure, we do talk about a couple of things, but then at the end, we'll just have it open for questions and whatever people want to talk about. I wanted to revisit the, for old business, I wanted to revisit the open PO function, just to kind of get a sense of how many people are interested in this. It doesn't, it's been out there for a while and really hasn't gotten any traction. But when I talk to individual libraries, they seem real interested in it. So I'm not real sure what we need to do to, get this going. I can, if a couple people wanted to get together and kind of work something out, and then the rest of us can talk about it, that would be one way to move forward with it. Yeah, does anybody have any comments about the open PO function? Does everybody understand what that is? Is it something that your library uses? Because I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it seemed like in the beginning it was something that
is a, when you say open PO, is that like a blanket PO or?
Yeah, blanket. Yeah, that would be another word.
Okay. Because I believe that, so I'm from Middlesex Community College in Massachusetts, and I believe that our, it was a person from my school that was interested in that.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, blanket PO, open PO.
Okay.
That, yeah.
So we would definitely be interested in that if anybody else is interested.
Okay. Now Stephanie is saying, not really familiar. Is there somewhere that I can read about it? I'm not really sure. Probably if you search on blanket PO, basically what it is you start out, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you start out, you open up a PO with, well, $10,000 against it. And then instead of purchasing everything all at once, you purchase it over time, but keep hitting that PO. So an example might be overdrive, where we will do, a blanket PO, and we'll do, we'll buy $10,000 worth of credit. And then each week that we order, we'll charge against that 10,000 and bring it down. But it's all against that one PO and then it doesn't actually close until we've spent all the money on it. Does everybody kind of agree that that's the idea behind the blanket PO?
I just had a question. Is it tied somehow to your fund at all, or is it totally separate, or how is it?
Yeah, it would be, it would be tied to a specific fund. So you could, like, we have an electronic database fund, or, digital resources fund. And then we charge all of our databases against it, but also the overdrive stuff. So, in the databases, we just pay, get the PO and pay it. But with overdrive, we are doing, like I described, we buy credit, content credit with them. So it's open. So it would look like in the fund, it would look like all that money is spent. when you open the blanket PO, all that, because it's pretty, it basically is spent. You've committed it to, you know, just whatever vendor it is. But you wouldn't, yeah, does that help? Does that kind of explain? Okay. I don't know if there's, so Robin, did your, your school or whatever, do you use it? How do you use your blanket POs? You know?
Well, I know right now, so say we have a blanket PO with Ingram, and so we set up a fund and we just pay out of that fund. So I've got to double check the person who brought it up. I've got to double check what else she was referring to, because it might have something to do with our, you know, streaming media and our ebook purchases and things like that. So I'd have to double check and clarify with her.
Okay. Yeah, so Stephanie says, sounds like we could use that for our Blackstone annual standing orders. Yeah, that would be a good example.
So I just put a link to a document.
Okay.
In the thread about blanket POs. I had to dig really deep for that, so I went ahead and put it in the koha-US Google Drive, so it's easier to get to now.
Okay. So my system just went down and came back up. So Jason, could you put that link in there one more time so I can see it? Thanks.
Sure.
All right.
And it looks like something that you, Rhonda, had shared back when the discussion was just getting started.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's probably, yes. Somewhere on my desk, a hard copy of that exists, but I'm not seeing it right now. But yeah, that's an example of what somebody came up with for blanket POs. So maybe we can do kind of, what I'll do is on the group, what is that called? It's called the group, I guess. The acquisitions group. I'll put a query out there. Just asking, you know, for people that are interested, and maybe we can do just like a working session, a small working session of just talking about it for people that are really, you know, interested, and then we don't have to use time for people that really don't have a use for it. Does that work for everybody? I'll do that right after we get off this call. I'll put a post or whatever it's called out to the group, and we can go from there. And that will get whoever's not here also. Okay. So for new business, something that we can look at, I wanted to look at what's going to be in 2005 for acquisitions, any kinds of updates. I went through these and realized it's really heavy on purchase suggestions and the purchase suggestion functions. There's lots and lots of updates for that. But maybe the best thing I can do, let me just share this screen. There we go. And this is just, you know, you can, oh Lord, what just happened? What do you guys see? Do you see Harry Potter or do you see system requirements?
We see system requirements.
Okay.
The community website. Yeah.
So this is the Koha community website. I never tried to share my second screen before, so this is it doesn't have the red line around it to tell me screen I'm sharing. So this at the top, this is the Koha 2005 release notes. And what I did was just went through and found some of these. So some of these make perfect sense to me, and other ones, maybe other people can kind of describe how you'd use them. But so there's new features, there's enhanced features, and there's bug fixes, or yeah, critical bug fixes, I think they call it, in this release note. So we'll kind of go through each of these. So for the new feature, there's just one, and this is basically enhancement, I would call it, of search to order function. You're in a basket, and right now I think it says order from an existing record. Now it's going to be search to order, and will actually, you will actually put in what you're searching for, and it will give you search results like you're used to seeing in the search the catalog results, and you'll be able to add things from the basket. So the advantage there, I'm sure you all realize, is if you have things with similar titles, you'll be able to see more information about the ones that you're looking at and actually select the correct one to order from. So this, yeah, it'll, the advantage is it use all the search features and the information shown in the normal catalog. So this should make searching for an item to add to a basket a little bit easier and less error prone. So I think that is a good one. One thing I have noticed is I've lost all my chat stuff. Oh well, can somebody keep an eye on the chat?
I'll keep an eye on the chat, Rhonda.
Okay, thanks.
Nothing since Jason posted the Google Drive link.
Okay.
Ah, I spoke too soon. Michelle says it still doesn't link up with the baskets created with EDI, correct?
Well, this is just to add something to a basket, and then you can either order at EDI or not. This will be, this isn't purchase suggestions. This is just, but yeah, this is just adding something to a basket. So if you want to, you could create a basket doing EDI, and then you could also add something to that basket using this function. And then, or yeah, I don't think that terminology was all correct. You could add something to a basket by downloading it from your vendor site and uploading it into a basket, and then also adding things with this, search to add something to a basket, and then send it off EDI. We use the search to add to a basket more for replacement items and I guess duplicates, same kind of idea. And then we'll send it EDI and do, pardon me, we have a dupe account with Ingram, so that we're not paying for the record, and for, I guess that's the main thing, that we're not paying for another MARC record. It gets attached to the existing record. The item will get attached to the existing record in our catalog, rather than creating a whole new bib record for it. And that saves on some confusion with people, or with patrons, I should say. So does that help answer the question? Oh, chat. Yeah, yeah. Margaret, do you know when the Bywater demo is going to get updated?
Good question. I think we're aiming for around this week. There's some rebasing of Koha Community version 2005 dot, I suppose it's 04, that our devs are doing to make sure it has all our Bywater bells and whistles. And
Okay.
then we'll be able to put it up. But expect it pretty soon. We've got
Okay.
our, internal test sites playing around with it, and our educators are hard at work putting stuff to blog posts, but it'll be coming soon.
Yes. So, all right. Yeah, because I've been watching it and haven't seen anything.
I see Hasina asked in chat, quote, I think it's a choice when we add items to a basket. Close quote.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. When you're adding items to a basket, this is one of the ways that you can add an item to a basket. So, I forget what they all are. Holly will know better than me because she looks at it a lot more than I do. Yeah, from an existing item, from a file, from a staged file, a bunch of different ways that you can add things to a basket right now. And that one is just making it a little easier and less error prone, I think is the biggest thing. You don't select, the wrong ISBN. A lot of times when I will add things to a basket, just to make sure that I'm getting the right thing, I will search on the ISBN, take the ISBN from Ingram, put that in to our catalog, just to make sure that I'm getting the right record, getting it attached to the right record. So that's there. All right. So if there aren't any more questions, these are the enhancements to acquisitions. So this is one that I'm like, okay. Add columns for notes, order number, and ISBN to late orders page. One thing, we don't use the late orders function all that much. So I don't know if you do use the late orders functionality. I'm sure this is very good news for you. Does anybody use it? Yeah, I'm
Getting a no from chat.
okay. All right. So I think there was one or two other things related to late orders in here too. So this one is add the ability to suggest purchase from existing titles. So this enhancement adds the ability to create a new purchase suggestion from an existing catalog record. Does anybody have a use case for this one? Because usually if we have the item, we don't accept purchase suggestions for it, unless it would be for.
I could see it being useful for ordering a replacement copy.
Okay.
Like if the people, that make the purchases need a purchase suggestion, then the librarian could go in and make that suggestion.
Okay, yeah, because we in the OPAC, we always turn off anything that's, don't display anything that's lost, because that's just a bummer. You think, oh, I found it, and then you're like, oh, it's lost. Okay, I can't get it anyway. But yeah, you're right. The librarians would be able to add. That would be good.
And it looks like a university suggested this one, so I bet they would have some more cases for it. University collections being a different beast than public library collections.
Yeah. This one was kind of interesting. Add an alert during purchase suggestion submission to warn the user when an existing biblio appears to satisfy the request. That happens, you know, we get suggestions for things that we already have in the catalog regularly, I think. So that one seems kind of cool. So, and that would be nice for the patrons too, to know, oh, you know, they already have it. I can put a hold on it or whatever. So that seems like a really cool one. Add table configuration for the suggestions table. I'm sure that's related to the, you can pick the columns that you want to display. I forget what that, I guess it's table configuration. So they've added another table to that, the suggestions table. So
Are you talking about configure columns? Rhonda?
oh, yeah, I think so. Is that what that is? That's how I read it, but maybe this is different.
Yeah, the bug says it's the column settings. So
Okay. Okay, thanks, Jason.
So that's from the home screen to Koha administration, and then down towards the bottom on the right-hand side with other things is column configuration for almost all of the tables.
Yeah,
On the south side.
yeah, and there's and it's a growing number too. You know, every release there's a few more tables that you can configure. So that's cool. So they've added the suggestions table to that one. That's good.
Which a good note is after you update, go check that table because you might get a few new columns and a few places you don't want them.
Yeah.
Check them off.
Yes, that is a very good point. Could be surprised. So, okay, this one is one that we sponsored with somebody else. I can't remember now. A couple other libraries. Add the ability to limit the number of purchase suggestions a patron may submit in a specified time period. So currently, Koha will limit the, what is it, the pending purchase suggestions. You know, you can limit the number of pending purchase suggestions, open, that's the word I'm looking for. I think they use the word open purchase suggestions. Our workflow takes things out of that pending status real quick because we end up, you know, assigning them to librarians and things like that. And so people, you know, there's the hardcore users of purchase suggestions. They will, as soon as you move one to another, you know, librarian to look at or whatever, they've got another one right in there. So what we wanted to be able to do was limit purchase suggestions over a period of time. Like you can only have 3 purchase suggestions over 30 days rolling. You know, it would be a rolling kind of thing. So it adds a couple of new system preferences where you have to put in those parameters, how many purchase suggestions and what your time period is, you know, 30 days or whatever. I did help with the sign off on this one. And one thing that I have noticed with our patrons is they like to go in and delete their purchase suggestions once they've been processed. And if they delete their purchase suggestions, this enhancement won't have any information for them for it to figure out how many purchase suggestions they've had in the last, you know, whatever your time period is. So as soon as this comes in, we're, you know, I will ask, and I talked to Lucas, I think it was about this, but basically just remove the delete button off of the purchase on the OPAC side for the patrons. So it doesn't allow them to delete the purchase suggestions. And our system is set up just to delete them after a year anyway. So, you know, eventually they will go away, but that's just something to be aware of, is if you want this to work properly. And, you know, it seems like our heavy users of purchase suggestions are the ones that have figured out that they can delete the purchase suggestions because they like to keep the screen clean or whatever, or they figured out that we're going and check in. Probably is what that is. And so my staff is really excited about this. This is basically a function that we had in our previous ILS. So now to get it back again is pretty exciting. So
I just want to say this is another reason we should have a deleted suggestions table.
yes.
Deleted items, deleted bibs, deleted bars. Really like the deleted suggestions because
Yes. Yeah, because somewhere, oh, okay, so this one right here is add the ability to archive purchase suggestions.
Nice.
So it adds a way to archive completed purchase suggestions. I don't know what that looks like. I'm really curious to see what that looks like. I'm hoping that once, I don't know about you, but the purchase suggestion page takes forever to load because we have so many purchase suggestions. And if this would, you know, just archive everything that we've handled and only try to load the current stuff, I think our performance would be really enhanced. And it would be great, you know, we could go back, you know, for statistical purposes or whatever, just to check, you know.
In 2005, there is a column. I don't know if it's new, but it probably is for archived binary, yes or no.
Oh, okay.
Is this suggestion archived? So
there must be some way that we can choose to archive it. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's a system preference or what.
Oh, probably one of the options on the suggestion.
Oh, okay.
Instead of delete, archive.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good thought. Okay. Yeah, so this could be a really nice feature too.
That is a new column in the suggestions table in 2005. It's not in 1911. So
okay, yeah.
And I did see that Hasina had a couple of questions in the chat while we were talking about purchase suggestions, and I think it relates to the previous topic. Hasina, do you want to ask now?
Yes, sure. Like I think I said, however, new suggestion adding into basket, is it coming up in new upgrade?
So how is the new suggestion?
Yeah, can we add new suggestion into the basket?
You can, if you don't EDI order, you can add it to a basket. EDI ordering doesn't have that function yet. There is a bug out there to add that function, but it hasn't been coded and completed yet. So if you are just regular ordering, you can add purchase suggestions to a basket. You have to be in the basket. You know, it's like add, you know, how that little pop-up screen comes up and it says, you know, add from file, add from stage file, add existing. One of them says purchase suggestion, add from purchase suggestion.
Okay.
So that's how you do that.
So yeah, because we are trying to use EDI, so probably we should wait until the bug get fixed, right?
Yeah, that's what we decided to do.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, because otherwise you've got, you know, just a teeny little handful where we happen to order their purchase suggestion from, you know, what, Amazon or something like that. And they get the nice little note that says, oh, it's been ordered, you know, it's arrived or whatever. But most people don't. And that I think would be just confusing for people.
Makes sense. Yeah. Another one is, like you mentioned, that suggestion module takes forever to upload. So how often do you delete? You mentioned it actually that 1 year.
Yes.
We did it last year, we did it for 6 months. And also, like you mentioned, that once you delete it, it deletes the items from the patron account. So sometimes the patron said, oh, I have requested the items and it didn't come for 6 months. So what is the best practice to keep it, keep it in there?
Yeah, well, I think this archive feature might be the answer to our question, where you can actually keep the information about the purchase suggestion, but it would be archived, so it wouldn't try to load it every time you go to the purchase suggestion page. So I think that will definitely be a worth testing, playing around with this and seeing how this functions, and seeing how it shows up on the patrons page as well. Like once you archive it, will it show up in the OPAC or will it not? That kind of thing. So I'm guessing some people would want to see, their purchase suggestions for a while back anyway. And other people are like, once they suggest it, they don't care anymore. But I think that this archive ability might, I want to explore this and see what that looks like. So, we chose 1 year, which still is a lot. It still is a lot of suggestions and it still takes a while to load. But we're thinking that nobody's going to have a question within that 1 year, beyond the 1 year.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know what best practice is. That's what our choice is.
Thank you.
So far, we've kept all of our suggestions since we came up. And the reason was the director wanted to be able to say, out of all the suggestions that we've received, this percent we've actually purchased. So we've responded, to you as a patron. And so they're all still in there, but yes, it makes it very slow.
Yeah, so that would be a real, if you could just archive them, that would be a real plus for you guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, this one, add the ability to change the manager of a suggestion and notify the new manager. So you can change, I guess what happens in our processing is we have, somebody that just kind of keeps an eye on the pending stuff, and then we'll assign it to the appropriate people. But sometimes, you actually look at it and you go, oh no, that's not really mine. That should be so-and-so's. So I guess this would be a way to change who's getting it, has it assigned to them, and then also let that person know that, it's been moved or, whatever. Usually I'll send an email or just talk to somebody, but this would be a way to automate that. That's my understanding. So yeah, there's 2 new columns in the suggestion table: last modification by and last modification date. So that might be helpful. This one is add a new suggestion details tab on bibliographic records. So I'm imagining, we've got the details tab and the acquisition tab, and then this would be another tab on that's suggestions. So I guess that would give you information about any purchase suggestions that have been made on that tab. I'm thinking this relates up to the one where you can make a suggestion from an existing record. This would tell you what that information is. So, and these, I think their numbers are all sequential right here. So I think they just kind of added these all, they're all related. Add a shortcut from the suggestion details tab to the bibliographic details tab in the staff client. So you could go from, no, it doesn't say tab. I put that in there. Okay. Add a shortcut from suggestion details to the bibliographic details. So there'd be a connection between those two. And then that's on the staff side, and then a shortcut from suggestion details to bibliographic record in the OPAC. And then also this one is part of the sequence, add the ability to batch modify item types from the suggestion page. So you can batch modify suggestions. We don't need to do that very often, modify. And usually it's just one here, one there. So we just do it one at a time. Somebody will put, you know, book when you know, it's pretty obvious that they want the DVD or something like that from everything else that they've entered. So, and again, that's from a university, so they may have some, you know, uses for that. Add the ability to modify the suggestions reason field when receiving the item. So the suggestion reason field is often used to communicate additional information about a suggestion between the patron making the suggestion and the staff member acting upon it. This enhancement allows staff to update the field upon receipt of the item and thus update the patron regarding the current state of the new material. So that's kind of a manual way of letting people know that their purchase suggestion has come in. I guess the one step there is you don't have to actually go find their email address. It's already connected and can send the notification.
Rhonda, I see another question in the chat from Hasina. She's asking if anyone here has more than 10 libraries that also uses the acquisition module.
I have more than 10 libraries, but we only use the purchase suggestions portion really of the acquisitions module. So not that helpful there.
Yeah, because I mean, I think Margaret knows that actually we're trying to use budget module, like, you know, whole acquisition module, including EDI. So I just want to get as much as information, you know, from out there in order to convince our staff to use it. And thanks to Rhonda, actually, she came over, she did like, you know, share her opinion, but like, you know, we have, I think, one small system. So that's why, like, you know, then again, they have, okay, we have multiple and you have bigger selections. So how is going to, you know, in a good or bad way affect us? So I really like to know as much as possible.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of a bigger group, you know, bigger system, I guess is the word I'm looking for, that uses the acquisitions module. Not even, yeah.
Yeah,
Margaret,
none of the consortia I can think of
yeah,
do use it. Like I know that Lizette's consortium uses purchase suggestions, but that's about the extent of it. And I don't think that George's consortium does. Do you know, Margaret, if anybody else out there is?
Part of me is like partner confidentiality and
right,
not wanting to call anyone out. But I think that'd be a good question to post to the Google group is ask how many libraries you have and are you using all the features or some of the features of the acquisition module, so we can catch the attention of the folks that might not be able to attend today.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, Margaret. Yeah.
And
And
you can also, even if you're not part of like the consortia group, you can also send messages to the consortia group asking those kinds of questions.
Yeah, that'd be good. And there's also the HEA website, which is like if libraries have opted in to share their statistics on what modules and system preferences they're using. That would not necessarily be a quick answer, but you could take a look at what types of libraries and how many of them overall are using acquisitions, and see that level of adoption of that module.
Is it like in a group mail you were saying, or?
Yeah, so there's the acquisitions special interest group, the koha-US groups, and there's always the koha mailing list.
Mailing list, okay.
Big one.
Mm-hmm.
And the general koha-US newsletter listserv thing, words.
Yes, there's multiple lists. I can post some in the chat for you.
Yeah, sure. Also, like, if you don't mind sharing that, what do you use? We are not consortium. Actually, we do have 7 branches together, 8, 9 branches together. So it's a one library, but we have multiple branches. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those are. Jason will share some of those ways to get it. That's a great way to get feedback quickly. I think the largest, Fargo, I know, uses acquisitions. They've got 3 locations. But other than that, I don't really know. Okay, so we're add ability to receive items in multiple currencies. So you could change your currency. I guess I'm reading this as within one order or one, one invoice, I guess is a better term for that. Add ability to track the claim dates of later orders. So this, I think, is to track multiple claim dates for a late order and expose this audit record via the late orders. So this is like the late orders functionality to the late orders table. And here's another one, add quantity column to the late orders table. So this is another enhancement for the late orders table for those that use that functionality. Add the ability to define a CSV profile for late orders export. Oh, there's another one. And then add functionality to apply defaults from the acquisition framework for mandatory fields when adding records from external sources. So that could be handy, if you're getting your records from somewhere else, being able to apply the acquisition framework to them, that would be good. Add the ability to sort by dates in the suggestions table. Okay, separate information about dates and roles, separates information about dates and roles into separate columns so they can sort nicely. I think they had the role and the information and the date all in one column. So they've just separated those out so you can sort by date, which is very nice. And add the ability for librarians to choose a patron when entering a purchase suggestion. So that will be helpful, especially, my thinking is if they're adding a purchase suggestion from an existing record, they may not, it'll be easier to attach it to a specific patron if they can just search for the patron. So that is all of the enhancements. And then these are critical bug fixes, but like it says up here, all bug fixes since the previous major version, most of them have already been fixed in maintenance releases. So this stuff right here is probably already fixed on your system. And these are critical bug fixes. So is there general thoughts about some of these new enhancements for acquisitions? Anything you're excited about?
We could test some of these out on the demo site come next month's meeting. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, so if you want to look this over again some more and play around on the demo site, then we can kind of demonstrate some of the functionality and kind of explore it, and what about this? What about that? Try different ways to see how different things work. Because it's one thing to read about it, but then another thing to actually play with it and see how it really works.
The Escobar in chat says they're excited about the limit on patron suggestions.
Oh, yes, we are too. We love our patrons, but oh my, sometimes they love us too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the problem. So, okay. We've got about 9 minutes left. Does anybody have anything, that you're struggling with, or a cool thing you discovered, or just a general comment?
I have a fun little thing.
Okay.
This one came up in the reflection on Koha 20 years back to 1999 KohaCon conference yesterday. But I'll put the link to YouTube in the chat. And in that minute, there are screenshots of what the acquisitions module looked at back in 2000. So I thought we could all, on our free time, take a look at that and just appreciate how much it's changed in 20 years. But if you want to blast from the past, check that out.
Okay, well, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
That will be fun. Because I'm sure that there's been lots of changes. I've seen some like tutorial videos from like even 10 years ago, and just the difference between then and now. So okay, does anybody have anything else that you want to talk about?
I recently submitted some bugs.
Okay.
26712 is to put the cursor in the basket name. So when you go to add a basket, the cursor's already there in that field.
Mm-hmm.
26729 is basically the same thing. Put the cursor in the vendor name field when you go to add a new vendor. 26680 is to when you're in a basket and you're looking at items that have been received or not received, you see in parentheses the RCVD, and that's to change that to actually say received, and to also add a span to it so you can style it like we have ours in red bold, just so that it stands out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 26731 is to potentially change the default sort order of inactive budgets. If I want to go and look at last year's budget and I look at the inactive budgets, we came up in 2016, so we see that one, and then 17, and then 18, and I have to scroll all the way down to the bottom to see just last year's budget. Last
It
year's.
seems like sorting in date descending order would be better. And then 26732 is to add a drop down on the inactive budgets so you could select which inactive budget you wanted to view.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Those are all good things. It'd be amazed how annoying it is to not have a cursor in the field where you expect it to be. You know, that happens on Ingram too. It's like, I just assume when that home page comes up that the cursor is going to be in the search box, and it's not. And I just start typing, and then all of a sudden my page starts doing all these weird things. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's that again. So those are time savers. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal.
I'm gonna rapid fire these into the chat. It looks like a couple of those you reported last week and they're already past QA, which is pretty cool.
Whoa. Okay.
The cursor ones are, they, you know, label them as trivial patch. And I assume they're just so easy to fix that, you know, it's a quick thing. Feels
Low hanging fruit too.
Yeah.
Trivial is not the most flattering word for it, but yeah, it's
Yes.
developer lingo.
small, but really important.
Mm-hmm.
Small, but
Yeah.
mighty.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. And I saw, Barbara, you signed off on the budget fix one that we talked about a while
Yes,
back, but
I did.
that's good. That is a good deal. And yeah, I don't know how is anybody here an early adopter? Okay, Bedford is.
This will be our first time,
Okay.
so we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, this will be our third time. So our staff is like, yeah, we'll do that.
Yep.
So we will be migrating on November 3rd, Election Day. So we'll have that trigger, whatever, to remember. So we can, yeah, definitely by next meeting, we can kind of play around with some of these new features and see how they work. And you know, we may want to suggest, you know, little tweaks to them, which, you know, seems evident that little tweaks we can get done fairly quickly. And yeah. Does anybody have anything else? We've got a couple minutes left. Okay. Well, I've contacted Bywater, and I'm trying to get a hold of the right person to put our enhancement or our development onto the dev site that they have. And then once, I'll let everybody know when that actually gets up there. And we will see if we can get, you know, if a whole bunch of libraries put in a little bit of money, we can maybe get that moving, because I think that one would be fantastic to get up there, to get that moving. So, okay, well, if we don't have anything else, then we will call it a meeting. Yeah, the one thing I'll do is I'll put a query out on the chat, or, you know, whatever that is, the Google group thing. And just, if you're interested in talking about the blanket PO stuff, respond to that, and we can get together kind of a working group between maybe now and the next meeting. And yeah, probably after November 14 would be good, because then I will turn into a human again. Okay. So yeah, everybody have a good month. Don't forget to vote your American duty. And we'll talk to you all later.